right? NFC South, NBA playoffs, college football expansion.
Our traditions, our
totally
sports
forgot
tradition.
about that. So I have traditions / events.
Okay.
Kind of like
same thing. Right. Along that path. I knew you'd.
And then our 21s. I have a Russell Wilson thing too.
Oh yeah, okay.
I have a Russell.
Oh yeah,
Wilson
he spoke
thing.
to that. He
did, and I don't know if I look at things differently than others do all the time, but I looked at it a little differently than some other people did. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano, joined, as always, by my friend Scott Bracey. What's going on, dude?
Good afternoon, pal, on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon.
I understand you played golf the other day. How'd you do?
I did a little golf outing for Chris Rothenberger and the Port Authority PBA. It was a great day.
Support the blue line.
Absolutely, sure do. My buddies, be safe out there. Long day. We got stuck behind probably the worst four golfers at the event. So it was hit your ball, get in a cart, and drink beer.
Yeah, which is not exactly the worst thing in the world.
No, especially on a Monday while everyone else is working. But it was a good day, fun day, and can't wait to play in a couple of weeks with you, pal.
It's interesting that you say that because I had an outing on Sunday as well. I posted it on Instagram, and I mean, you know, it's funny. It's funny with scrambles or like what is it just called a scramble or best ball? It's hard to judge like how you played because even if they don't use your ball might have been pretty good anyway. You know what I mean?
And you know, right. Especially like on the chip on the green. Like, if you'd be happy with a par there, like
yeah. So I mean, but I looked at it as like I struck the ball pretty well. And listen, the last time I played, it might have been the worst round I had. I'm not even kidding, like 15 years. It was horrible. I didn't know where the ball was going. It was just brutal. So I played pretty well as well. So, and of course, I agree with you. It's always fun. God, was I exhausted though afterwards. Oh my God, I felt like I got the shit beat out of me. I'm like, I need a nap. I need a day. Like, yeah. It's just wild. But those are always fun, and it's usually a little looser because you know it's team play and you're cheering each other on as opposed to
that's more fun, right?
Trying to outplay.
Did you win any prizes?
We did not. We didn't. No, but I didn't care. I had a good group. I would play with that same group. Time again. I had no problem with it. I enjoyed that a lot. So we got a lot to get to today, and I'm squeezing it all in somehow. I'm making baked ziti inside because we got the podcast going now live at 4. I got all-star practice at 6. It's just a fun-filled day. Today was my last day of work at school, which is always one of the most glorious days of the year. We're going to have a little thing at the end of the podcast of our favorite events / traditions in sports. And one of my favorite traditions not related to sports is the last day of school, because then I get 2.5 months to rest up for the next school year. Which reminds me of something, dude. I love these teachers. And when I say love, I mean they should go stick a hot poker in their ass when they say this. I love when teachers complain like during the winter. Now, this year was different because COVID. There was no like snow days because even if you were home, you just used the computer and we're live on the internet or something. But when they would complain like, oh, we got to, the school calls the day. And then it doesn't snow a lot. They could have had a day.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, Jesus, you're cutting. I was going to go on vacation. And I'm like, dude, you get 2.5 months off, bro. Some people get 2 weeks the entire year. Like, shut up. It's a really bad look. Like, just stop it. And
I got
if
those
you're
friends
the
that
idiot,
are teachers. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you're the idiot that books your vacation like the day after school ends, you deserve to lose your down payment on that, okay? You deserve to lose your deposit.
I want to be
just give it a week.
I want to beat the traffic. I want to beat this now. Hey,
stop it.
Newsflash. Georgia, Florida, Carolinas, they've been out since May. You're not beating anybody.
Yeah, just stop it, though. It's just a bad look for everyone you know. They're all like, dude, you're not going to be working until September. I got to work all through the summer. Just to all my teacher friends who complain about one extra day, just don't. Look at it this way. When you got the day off, if it wasn't worth it for snow or whatever, it's a mental health day and you won. Right. Without having to take a sick day. Just stop it. So anyway, today was the last day, and it's definitely one of my big traditions. So I've been giving you our Little League updates, and I'll give you the update for our championship game, which was a lot of fun. Some of you may have seen it on Facebook and Instagram. It was an epic battle, to be honest with you. Well, we ended up winning 9-7. Played 6 full innings. The starter who jumped out of a plane and parachuted into our last game, he started this game, went 4 full innings, was just awesome. Like masterful. He even has a really good heart. Quick story. We were winning, I think at this point it might have been 9-2. Okay. And he's pitching. There's nobody on base, and it's the last batter in the order for the other team. And instead of throwing just smoke at this kid, he threw strikes, and he didn't throw. I'm not saying he lobbed it to him, but he backed off a little bit, almost. He just had a heart, and he said, this is not going to be the kid. I'm not going to embarrass him. I'm not going to just like make him look bad. I think he probably didn't want to hit him either, like, because who knows if the kid would have got out of the way. I don't know. There was a little something about that I actually did like. Now, we always say, like, yeah, you got to have a killer instinct, and I get that. But there's a difference between this kid who was pitching and the kid who was batting. You have a killer instinct, when you're up against equal competition. I'm all about that. End of conversation, right? Yeah. But this was different, and I actually was impressed. But overall, he was masterful. Actually gave up 2 runs in the first inning, and a couple kids really hit the ball, and it was like, hey, no big deal. We come back and score 4, bottom of the first. Nice. And we scored a few runs here and there, and we got it all the way to 9-2. And to their credit, the other team was the Yankees. We're the Phillies. The other team was the Yankees. To their credit, they could have bailed. I mean, they could have bailed and just been like, it's over. We're not coming back from 9-2. They made it 9-4 in the 5th. And then they scored 3 more runs in the 6th and made it 9-7. And I'm going to tell you what, we were sweating a little bit at that point because the whole game, the other coach actually said at one point when he was coaching first base, like, balls are being hit in the outfield, like balls are actually being hit, but we were getting it in. You know how many times I've told you about like
cutoff man
and getting it in and getting it to the pitcher to end the play. And we were just getting it in. I mean, guys, this one dude hit a ball that hit the fence and he ended up getting a double. Because we got it into the pitcher, done, play's done. And he was just saying, man, you guys get it in quick. These are 9 and 10-year-olds, and they were really, come 6th inning, we're chucking the ball all over the place because we're trying to get like guys out who are running on base, and I'm like, stop it. That's why you get a nice lead, so that you don't go chasing guys. You just worry about the batter. Right. So it's 9-7. It's 9-6 with a runner on third. And I go out to the mound and I call all the infielders in. And my buddy who coaches on the other team, he says, "I never seen you so mad because you had a vein popping out of your neck." I said, because they were just like losing their minds. I said, "You see that kid over on third base?" I said, "I don't care about him. I'll go over there, grab him by the hand and let him score. It doesn't matter. Worry about the batter." And you could see their faces like, okay, we'll just worry about the batter. Don't worry about the guy in third.
Oh, there's the vein again, too, right?
Yeah, well, there it is. So you know what I was like, stop! Like, it doesn't matter. They can score 4 runs and they still can't win. So, we did get that final out, and I'm not gonna lie, it felt pretty darn good.
That's great, man. Congratulations to Peter Richard.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people want to know, my friends, Mr. Phillips, was there ice cream?
No, there was no ice cream.
You are a bad guy. Are you having?
They got trophies.
They can't eat a trophy, Peter. Come on now.
No, you can't eat a trophy, but you carry a trophy around with you for days. My son has. I think today was the first day my son put the trophy down.
Why can't they have both?
Because
I thought you were going to go to. I thought you were going to go to ShopRite, get a little thing of Luigi's Italian Ice. What happened to that pipe dream?
I got to be honest with you. I totally forgot about that. I thought about it.
You are.
I know. I thought about it.
You were like Luke Pinella. Like, oh my God.
I thought about it that night. I was like, oh shit, I totally forgot about the Italian ice. All right. So you and some of the people on Facebook have kind of made me feel a little guilty.
Thank God.
Phillips was one of them. But you have really, I mean.
I'll get in on this. Yeah. You know what? Yeah.
So here's what I'm doing. I'm going to do a pool party / barbecue here at the house for one last get together. And you know what I'm going to make sure is on the menu? I'm going to make sure Luigi's Italian Ice is on the menu.
There we go.
Okay. That's what I'm going to do. Is that better than ice cream?
That's fantastic. A little pool, trophy, and ice cream. That's
it. Bring your trophies. We'll go swimming with the trophies.
That's great. Okay. All is forgiven.
You feel better now?
Well, you're lucky it'll be 48 and it's raining, and then you want to go.
Come on. It'll just July, and it's going to be pouring, right? Yeah. So we enjoyed that. I even had a hard time sleeping that night. That was Monday night. Had a hard time sleeping.
Did you have a victory stick and bourbon?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. I actually just wanted to breathe it all in, and I did. And I'm actually kind of glad I did, because I was really I was pretty stoked about it. I got to be honest with you. Listen, we were the regular season first place team, and I told you I was a little nervous because it's a single elimination. Even if it was double elimination tournament, I would have felt a lot better because, hey, sometimes you lay an egg. And then we had the week off, like I told you.
Absolutely.
So I just was nervous about it. And the fact that we followed through and made it happen, I don't know. I was really jacked about it. So,
as you should be. Awesome.
And the celebration lasts for a day or two. And then, like I said, today, All-Star practice begins, or really it's our second All-Star practice. And the tournament, Father's Day tournament, it's a Father's Day weekend tournament. It actually starts tonight, but we get a first round bye. We play tomorrow. So the tournament goes the whole weekend.
Cool.
So we'll see. So on to new things, and we're trying to win even more championships now. So we'll see how that goes.
How many new kids do you have?
I know 3 kids that were on my team, and then I probably know 2 or 3 kids that were on my team last year.
Yeah, playing against them and stuff.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch of other kids who I know where they are. I actually was pleasantly surprised and pleasantly pleased, I should say, with who we had. Because you remember this. So this is like a B All-Star team. This is like kids who were nominated for All-Stars but didn't quite make it. So it's like, well, but they're All-Star. They're kind of All-Star worthy. Sure. So we want to get them more play and keep them excited about playing baseball. So they actually do this like B.
That's
team,
a great idea.
Which is, it's great.
Especially now with baseball dying a little bit. That's a great idea.
Exactly. It's smart to keep them involved instead of they'd go right to football or, like
flag
football.
Whatever,
yeah. So, but I was really pleasantly surprised. This is not like, lesser than athlete. I mean, some of these guys were stroking a ball. Some of them have cannons for arms. I really was pretty impressed. You know what they are? Most of these kids that are on this team, they're all-stars. They just need some refining. Whereas the regular kids who are, I should say the kids who are on the A all-stars, I guess.
Yeah,
they're for 10-year-old, 9 and 10, for 10-year-olds, they're pretty refined already. For that age. So
yeah, it's like some of them can hit, but they can't field, or they can field, but they can't hit, or something.
Or even like, a couple,
man,
a couple of them, like they have really good arms, but for pitching, they don't have the control yet. And for most of them, it's probably just a matter of they haven't had a chance to work on this stuff. And so we're going to work on it. We're going to see what we can mold them into. But I'm actually pretty impressed with the talent that we do have. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, good luck.
So tonight, that's tonight at 6:00. So obviously this podcast will be done before 6:00 today. Big kind of announcement, we'll say, in college football this week. They're expanding the college football playoffs. It looks like, or at least they're discussing 12. And of course, right off the bat with that, I started doing the math, and I'm like, okay, well, how are they going to break that down, because 12 goes down to 6, which then goes down to 3. So everybody's not playing. So what's your best guess? You think like top 4 teams get a bye?
So I didn't hear anything about 8. I heard 12 a little bit, but I heard 16 was the main number that they're going to. Now 16? I think for that purpose alone, and I think they were trying to talk the first 2 rounds would be at their own stadium.
Oh, I think that absolutely should be that way.
So, yes, you get a little bit more money, a little bit more
16
income coming in.
So many.
It sounds a lot, but then you get, listen, I don't want to hear any more bullshit. You get your Coastal Carolinas, you get your Boise States.
You could do that with 8.
Nah, I mean, there's probably better teams than 8 than those teams are, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I'm saying of deserving teams, what you should have, what I've always said since they've started playoffs, I've said you have your 5 major conference champions.
Right.
Okay. And then you have the 3 next best teams. Anyone who's undefeated, not in those conferences, automatically in.
So Notre Dame would be one of those teams because last year they were in the ACC, but not going forward. They're going to go back to independent, right?
Well, so that's their fault. So they would have to be one of the next best 3 teams.
Totally their fault.
Now, just because you're one, now this is the way I'm looking at it. Just because you're one of the 5 conference champions doesn't mean you're a top 5 seed. It just means you get an automatic bid.
No, if you're
That's
USC,
how I would do it.
If you win the Pac-12 at 10-3, you should be a 5 seed or whatever.
Maybe,
it is,
or worse. Yeah, I don't know.
Worse, yeah, right.
You know, but a Coastal Carolina, I don't know if they went undefeated last year, but if they did, like, or if BYU would have beaten them, they would have been undefeated. You know, back years ago, Boise State, and these teams do pull off upsets. Boise State beat Oklahoma back in the day, which was when, I mean, it's still anyone who's under like, I should say older than like 30 probably has some memory of that game.
Yeah.
It, you know, you still talk about it 15 years later, you know? So it does, it would be nice, but they're talking 16. I thought I heard 12. Okay.
So 12 would be maybe the first 4 get buys.
It would have to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair too.
Because then 12, that would mean 8 teams play. And those 8 would be whittled down to 4, and then your top 4 seeds would play those 4.
And then you go on from there. Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
But here's the thing: if they don't make any other changes, the teams who play in the championship would have ended up playing 17 games.
I know,
and I don't know, that just seems a lot. Now I know not too many, only a couple. There would only be 2. That's 2 teams out of all the teams in Division I football. But 17 is a lot. Now, I don't think those 2 teams would complain for a second. Neither would those schools. But that's a lot of football. That's a lot of football.
But you know what? It would kind of it would stop guys from opting out.
Maybe.
Or well, a lot of schools at least.
You would hope so.
You would hope so. It would make it a better product. It would make college football a better product as a whole. It would help recruiting, I think, tremendously.
So I think it would.
You got more teams in the kitty.
Yeah, I think it would help spread the talent a little more, which is, I tell you what, and you know, we both are diehard college football fans, and that won't stop for me and you.
No,
but a lot of people their interest has waned a little bit because college football has become so regional, because there's basically like 3, 4, maybe 5 teams that legitimately have a chance of even making the playoffs, never mind winning a national championship. Basically Clemson, Alabama, sometimes another SEC team, whether it's Georgia or LSU or Auburn or whatever. So Florida. One other SEC team, Ohio State and Oklahoma, and sometimes Notre Dame, maybe.
And Oklahoma gets spanked every time they're in it because they don't play defense. And
the Baker Mayfield year, they put up some decent numbers, but they don't. But I'm just saying, like, those are the only teams.
I mean, they get blasted,
and it gets lame. It gets lame.
Well, as a Ohio State hater, it's sad reading all the Big Ten stuff at the beginning of the year that it's Ohio State and everybody else. It's like, and that's not even the conference. They got a spot already planted.
That's what I don't like.
Sucks,
I don't like.
It's like
I don't like the preseason rankings or like the early season rankings. Like last year was total bullshit. Ohio State hadn't even played a game yet, and they're ranked 3rd in the country. How do you justify that?
I don't know.
You're basing that literally on nothing. And it's just not right. I don't know. So I do think in that sense, it's better because you'll spread the talent more. If you're a kid, would you rather be a second teamer on Ohio State or a starter on Northwestern? The truth is, a lot of kids will say, I'll be a second teamer on Ohio State because either I can beat the kid out or eventually I'll start. What you want is that kid going to Wisconsin. You want that kid going to Northwestern. You want him going to
Indiana, whatever.
Texas Tech.
Yes.
You want him going to Kentucky.
West Virginia.
She's getting it. I'm sorry. My wife set herself an Alexa reminder to get the big ziti out of the oven. Very important. You don't want to overcook it or else it's ruined. So,
and don't light the house on fire.
I think that's actually, of all the things, that's the most important thing, is that you'll end up, I think, you never know, but you'll end up spreading the talent a little further.
I think so too. Because then it's like, do I want to sit at Ohio State for 2 years or Oklahoma for 2, where I could play and maybe
go start at North Carolina
and Auburn? Yeah, like we get talent enough there, and
So that's the hope. Listen, I'm all for the expansion. I think 12 and 16 is too many.
Yeah,
I just want it to be teams that have I've always wanted it to be teams that have a legitimate argument. I'm not even talking about a legitimate chance. I don't think Coastal Carolina or BYU last year have a legitimate chance to win the championship. But they have an argument to be in the tournament. And in an organization, the NCAA, which puts 64 and now more like 68 teams into their basketball tournament, it just makes sense. And there's probably a way to still work in the bowl games and all that kind of stuff, which, is just extra money and all that. But it's just a better product, man. The playoff is awesome, and it would be good.
You have your argument too, like both sides of it. Like Boise State for all those years put on big arguments. And they beat Oklahoma in a game, and one of the greatest bowl games of all time.
Oh, awesome!
And then you have your Hawaii team with rest in peace Cole Brennan. We just talked about that a couple weeks ago, and they got murdered in a game. Like,
but that's
Georgia
okay. Guess what? Georgia got murdered also this year. Like, Hawaii is not the only team to get murdered. Like, teams get blasted all the time.
I understand, but that's what people are going to argue with. Like,
that's why you play. See, this idea that like, well, we know this team isn't going to win, so you don't play. Then why do we play at all? Why does anybody else other than Ohio State, Alabama? Then let's not bother having a season. Why does Vanderbilt even play football? Why does Duke play football? Why does Wake Forest play football? Why does TCU play football? Like, it's not about. You don't put teams, or you shouldn't be put. Like, we have an NFL playoffs. We know there's only like 5, 6, maybe 6 teams that can have a legitimate argument about winning the Super Bowl. But we don't say we should thin or lessen NFL playoffs, because we just say, hey, I want a shot.
They're expanding it. Matter of fact, they're not going less; they're going more.
Yeah, and all you say is, I want a shot. Maybe we can't win the whole thing, but maybe we could be the team that knocks off Tampa. Maybe we could be the team that beats Kansas City this year. Pulls the upset. And you know what? You say, well, that doesn't matter. Of course it matters. If you're Texas Tech, let's just say, I don't know why I keep going to that. Let's say Texas, because they've struggled and they got Sarkisian as their new head coach. So they've struggled, and they shouldn't. They have all the resources that Alabama has, probably even more resources than Alabama has, if I'm being honest, as far as money, right? So they got a history, a very great tradition. They should be good.
Beautiful city, Austin's gorgeous.
Yes, but they've struggled. Okay. Now, let's say they go like, I don't know what it would be, but let's just say they go 9-2 this year. On a normal season, 9-2 does not get you in the 4-team playoff.
Right.
Okay. But this coming season, it probably would if you're Texas, right? There's a good chance that gets you a spot. Depending, maybe you beat, a UCLA in an all out of conference game, or let's just say that gets you in. Yeah, let's just say that gets you in. Okay. And but you're 9-2. You're not going to beat an undefeated Ohio State or an undefeated Alabama or an undefeated you're not going to win the national championship. But let's just say you go and beat let's say you go and beat Notre Dame, or you go and beat Alabama because they got a rookie starter at quarter. They were undefeated this year, but you go and beat them. And then you lose the next week to Ohio State. Are you going to tell me that it wasn't worth it for Texas to be in the playoffs? Right. Of course it does. For the next 3 months, they get to recruit kids saying, hey, we just beat Alabama. Tell me we're not going in the right direction.
And with you, we'll be one step better. You know how the game works.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what are they saying? It's 2 years away, at least 2 or 3 years away.
I don't know if it's that long. I don't think it'll be this coming season. I don't think it'll be this coming season. But my guess is they'll fast track it to the following season. I'll see, what would that be? 2022. I'd be shocked if you don't talk about it. You don't put it out there, because it's the NCAA who put it out there. Right. You don't put that out there if you're not looking to see what kind of reaction you get, and it's all positive. I mean, people are arguing about the number of teams, which is fine, but nobody's like, we shouldn't do it. Right. Like, it's more money, it's more exposure, it's better for the players because you get to showcase your talent against better talent. So like, it could enhance your draft stock and all that kind of stuff. It's good for everybody. Now, again, the one downside is that you could potentially play so many games, which it gets out of control. But it's a win-win. So, and there's no way they're going to wait 2 years.
Like you said before, guys like us who love this sport, we're going to be salivating for this thing.
So, the funny thing about that too, you saying that, because there's a lot of people, I bet you we're both in the same boat on this one. A lot of people are, I don't want to say anti-bowl games, but they're anti kind of small bowls. I personally love them all. Some of the best bowl games I see every year are, I can't even think of the names. Yeah, like the Outback Bowl and shit like that.
The Papa John's Bowl.
Yes, and because I always say, like, it's easy for you to say that it's a stupid bowl when you've never been a senior on a sports team. Like, I'm even talking, like, you played high school ball. Yeah, you know what it's like to walk off the field the last time, never to return.
Yep.
when you get to play that last game, I don't care, who it is and what it is. It matters. And those guys play balls out. Like, they just let it hang out because they know they're not going, most of the guys on Western Michigan ain't going pro. Right. Hey, what's up, Tommy? Thanks for joining us, man. Always a pleasure to have you with us today.
Tommy, good afternoon, sir.
So I still love the bowl games. Some of the best bowl games I've ever seen are some of the, we'll call them smaller bowls.
Those like 2:00 on December 28th.
On a Thursday. Right? Yeah, it's just, I absolutely love them. I think they're fantastic. So I wouldn't want to see those go away. And most of those players don't want to see them go away.
I was just going to say the same thing, right?
Why would you, Yep. And I bet you the teams don't because, again, it's one more chance to say, hey, we just won the Baja Outback Sunglasses Bowl or whatever the hell, whatever it is. I don't know.
And it's more money for the school. That's what it is.
It's more money for everybody. More money for everybody. So the kids want to play. The coaches want to play. It's more money. They're going to do that. So I'm excited about it. I think 12 is a lot, but you know what? If they go with 12, if they go with 16, it's not going to be like, oh, screw this, I'm not watching. No, I'm going to watch, and I'm going to enjoy every friggin' second of it. So but it'll be interesting. Okay, let's do – I got a little NFL here before we get to the NBA playoffs. There's a couple things I wanted to talk to you about. And if you have anything else, just jump in with it, okay? Two things that happened this week, and you're going to – I know you already – I texted this to you, and you already – cool. Well, you're freaking. Here we go with the Jets. This is less a Jets story, something else. Okay, so I want you to think what would have happened 2, 5, 10, 15 years ago when I tell you this story. Okay, that's why I think to me it's a interesting. Okay. So Jamison Crowder, wide receiver, like a slot receiver for the New York Jets, was asked by the Jets. He has not shown up to OTAs, did not show up to minicamp. I don't want to call him a holdout, but they were in negotiations. So I think when you're in negotiations, it's kind of understood you're not coming because you don't want to get hurt, and then they can totally stick it in your ass and all that kind of stuff. So he doesn't come, which nobody was upset about because of the negotiation. So the Jets wanted him to take a pretty steep pay cut this year. So he was scheduled to make, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of like $9.8 million.
Wow.
And I think they wanted him to come down. What's up, Eddie? Thanks for joining us, man.
Eddie.
I think they wanted him to come down like in half, like that, pretty much down to $5 million, which I'm going to be honest with you, for a wide receiver of his caliber is almost embarrassing. In my opinion, like I think it's almost disrespectful to ask him to take $5 million. The guy had, I think, 60-something, 70 catches last year. He was
nice, a good player.
He wasn't even close. He was best receiver. Now he's not the best receiver now, but I still think he's very good. And when this came out that they were asking him for this, I'm like, he's gone.
Well, Pete, to interrupt you real quick, he might be better now with Corey Davis and Mims in his second year with better production now. Who knows?
Okay. And now I'm also going to say to you what I started this off with was go back 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What would Jamison Crowder have done?
Walked.
He would have walked.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He said, okay, I'll take a pay cut.
The Robert Saleh effect.
I got to be honest with you, dude. I think that is exactly what it is. And what's most amazing about it is that he hasn't even coached a season yet. Like all he's done is OTAs
and a press conference.
One-on-one meetings with these guys, press conferences. And you got a guy here who's like, I mean, he could get, let's put it this way. I don't know how much he could get on the free market, but he can get more than $5 million. He could get more than what the Jets are offering. He said, okay. And to your point, I think part of it is also I don't have to carry the team, and it'll actually free me up a little more because I won't get double teamed or bracketed. Yeah. It's more like bracketed at the slot like that. I think it works out for him on the field, but it certainly doesn't work out for him in his pocketbook. And I'm being honest with you, I'm stunned. And it does say something to me. And yes, as a Jets homer, kiss my ass, I'm pleasantly like surprised about it to say, I think he's staying here because he senses there's a different culture. There's a different thing going on right now.
I buy that for now.
Or like Eddie says, maybe he just likes paying higher taxes in New York or New Jersey. I guess. I guess he actually pays New Jersey taxes, right? Which are just as bad, if not worse. So
yeah. Yeah.
I think that's an underrated story because it's a nothing story. Jameson Crowder, he's not even a top 10 slot receiver, or maybe he's a top 10 slot receiver, but he's like 10. If he is, he's like the 10th best slot receiver. But he could have made more and he stayed. And it's like, wow, that's nothing, but it's not nothing. Like he chose to stay. I just think it means something.
So you're both stunned and stoked that he stayed.
Yes. Now, again, until you actually get on the field, and I don't mean just him, I'm talking about the Jets, until you get on the field and we start seeing the actual product, and I don't expect much this year, as much as I'm ecstatic about the direction, ecstatic about the draft, free agents, the coach, GM. I love everything. I'm happy with everything right now. I still think they're going to stink this year in relative terms. Right. I think they're a 6-win team. 7 would be fantastic, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm just talking about the fact that a guy who you could kind of say his team didn't want him anymore.
Wow, that's high. Eddie gave you a win total. I'd
sign me up. Sign me up. 7-9-1. Eddie says, sign me up. So that's why. But doesn't that say something more? Like, yeah, you got a high end prediction of 7-9-1, and this guy's willing to take a half a pay cut, like a half a salary pay cut, to stay on a 7-9-1 team.
Yeah, and he could go to the Colts or something like.
What kind of a jerk off makes a prediction with a tie? By the way,
you met Eddie before, right?
So now, I don't know. Don't you think that means something?
Correct me if I'm wrong. He's had some injuries the last couple of years too, right?
Not so much last year. Last year was more like nicks and scratches.
Everyone around them just sucked.
The year before, and I don't count last year with that because there was no preseason. Everybody was hurt. Everybody was hurt. Yeah. That's what makes this season so interesting for the Jets is that you have a lot of young guys from last year that were injured and on top of being injured didn't have a preseason because of COVID. You know, I'm reading some really great things about Mims this preseason. Like him and Zach Wilson are connecting really nice. I'm hearing phenomenal things about Elijah Moore. Like I saw an article today. There was like, where has Elijah Moore been all our lives? Like there's just some guys.
You are glowing.
There's just some guys on the field that just they stand out, man. Like a Tyreek Evans. Like these guys just stand out, and you're like, what the hell was that? And I just think he's one of those.
Tyreek Hill, you mean?
What did I say? Tyreek Evans. Elijah Evans. Yeah, Tyreek Hill.
Did you combo?
All right.
Listen,
Jesus Christ,
you're swallowing your tongue. You're so excited with this damn team.
I am excited.
Well, listen, I don't want to confuse the fan base.
Let's see they go out and go 9-8 and really stick it to everybody.
Oh, dude, you're going to be insufferable if they go 9-8. Oh, I'm going to have to get a new partner.
I'm going to watch Colin Cowherd every day when Colin was wrong about Zach Wilson. Suck it, Colin. I think, yeah, Eddie says my brains went with the hair. Yikes. It fell right out. There was never that much anyway. I'm a friggin' gym teacher, man. Come on. So the other
what is Tommy talking about? Your high school coach or something?
Yeah, he was he was not good. So the guy's name was Iannucci. Hey Tom, how about this one? I moved down, Scotty, you'll love this shit. I get married and I moved. So Iannucci was our head coach in high school, and he was probably the worst coach I've ever had in my life. And I moved down. So many years later, obviously, I get married, moved down here to South Jersey. And who becomes the head coach of Holy Spirit High School right down the street from me? John fucking Iannucci. And I'm like, look at this shit. I can't get away from this smelly bastard. I couldn't even believe it, dude. I was this close to writing a letter to the athletic director of Holy Spirit saying, do yourself a favor and get out of this as quickly as you can, man. As quickly as you can.
How long did he last? 2 years?
I think he lasted a year and was gone. That's how fantastic he is.
Wow.
Anyway. So another story that happened this week, which I think, see, because he was a straight jerk off. You know what's funny about it too, dude? I think as a head coach, your job is just as much to like keep guys on track, keep them motivated, keep them wanting to come every day. You know as well as anybody, football's a friggin' grind, man. Football's different than every other sport because basketball, if you have a bad game, dude, you got another game in like 2 days. So you put a good practice together and you're right back out on a court and you could say goodbye to that last game. But football, it's once a week.
Yeah,
and dude, you got to live with a loss for so long, or even get over a win because you don't want to be too high. And this guy was he's just the worst people person. I don't think I think he was bad at X's and O's as well. His offense was archaic. But that's besides the point, because even with bad offense, if you motivate players and you get them all going in the same direction, you can win football games.
Sure.
He just was terrible with people. He just was terrible with people. Nobody liked him. Like, nobody likes you and you can't win football games equals you're no longer a head coach. So anyway, we'll get off of that.
Listen, I love story time with Uncle Pete. It's
fantastic. Because he just was bad. He just was bad. Even the guys who started were like, God, can somebody can a train just run him over, please? Or at least part of him. Anyway.
So let me tell you about my high school football coach. No,
genius. The guy, I heard he was a genius.
Oh, Mr. Phillips.
No. Okay, so so Jim Phillips writes in, I may have missed it, but can we get a GoFundMe? These sons of bitches to buy these kids
I love it.
Some effing snow cones. Chipwiches are so good, by the way. I don't know. Would I rather have a chipwich or a snow cone? Because I do love a good snow cone. I'd rather have a fresh snow cone, but when the truck comes around, it's never fresh, and the snow is hard as a rock. So then I'll take the chipwich. But if you're gonna make a snow cone right in front of me, give me that snow cone. So cool. But no, I did not get them ice cream. And before you even start typing, you keyboard Nazi,
I love them.
I'm having a backyard barbecue and pool party for these kids. So no ice cream. Besides, too much sugar can lead to diabetes, and I want them all to be healthy because I love these kids.
They're 9. Oh my God.
I lose sleep every night, Tom. These guys, they don't understand.
I love it.
They're not buying the snow cones. They're not buying the ice cream. I saw Jim Phillips with a post on Facebook today. He's looking at birds.
Sure. Birds. It was a pretty bird.
Dude,
pretty bird.
I tell you what. It was awesome.
He was playing golf. And he was playing golf when he was doing it. What day.
What, do you got a camera with you? Like a high zoom camera? This guy just carry one around?
These phones are nuts now, though.
Jesus. Can we get back to sports? I'm sick of chipwiches and snow cones. I'm having a pool party for the kids. Coach.
I'm so glad I started this. This is tremendous.
So the other story.
Wait. Take a sip. Take a breath. God. Oh, my goodness.
You let me work. All right. So the other story from this week that, to me, how do I say this? It kind of, okay, let me just say, we'll see what happens. So Russell Wilson comes out and really turns upside down what he had done for 3 months, almost to say, I never asked for a trade. I love being in Seattle. It's never what I said. I just said, if they were going to trade me, here's where I'd like to go. As if Chicago didn't mortgage everything from their future to try to get him. That didn't happen, right?
If they gave me an opinion, I would suggest this. I wasn't saying I wanted an opinion.
Right. So, but only Russell Wilson could pull this off. And be like, man, I always want to stay in Seattle. I love Seattle. I'm Seahawk for life. And only he can pull this off with the smile. And we're like, see, he didn't want to.
Fucking Ernie.
So I have a slightly different take on this. So we've talked about how Aaron Rodgers with his nonsense, and I'll bet you Deshaun Watson down in Houston with his nonsense. I'm not even talking about the sexual harassment or whatever Watson did down there with the things. I'm just talking about
with the
things. Yeah. I'm very agitated today. You guys got me so agitated. I can't even think straight. It's just ridiculous.
Come on, you're a championship manager.
Snow
Relax.
cones. You guys are. I lead this team to a championship. And you're worried about goddamn snow cones. So I think Deshaun Watson probably got a lot of bad press, and the local fan base didn't like what he's done. And we know that the local fan base in Green Bay has not liked what Aaron Rodgers has done. And they keep trying to equate. And I also think that Russell Wilson was catching some heat because of stories that you talked about, that not all his teammates love Russ like everybody thinks they love Russ. And I think some of the fans were like, dude, like some of the stuff that we've said, dude, you're going to make $40 million. Like, what does the team owe you? Okay. Right. And they love to compare it to Tom Brady. Tom Brady left when his contract was up. Tom Brady, for 20 years, didn't force his way out of New England, didn't even whisper at forcing his way out of New England. So stop it. And oh, by the friggin' way, when he left, he had won 6 freaking Super Bowls. So stop comparing your single Super Bowl ass to Tom Brady. You are not him. You do not have the same rights. You're not in the same boat. Okay, so stop that. But I really do think, Russ was kind of feeling a little heat from his own, but even more so was seeing the fan/media, local media reaction to Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson, and was like, you know what? This is not how I want it to be for the next year, 2 years, whatever it ends up being. I'm going to put the kibosh on this. Number one, I think the way he did it, only Russ can do it with a smile and go Hawks. But number two, I actually think it's brilliant. I think it's smart because for the next, what would you say, year and a half or something like that, you'd have what? Like rumors or innuendo or questions. Is he going to be traded this year? Is this year? Is that what you want on for the next, 18 months? If you're starting quarterback for the Seahawks with a team that, whether I think they have Super Bowl aspirations or not, they kind of are in that Super Bowl bubble. Would you want that going on? Would you want that kind of talk? No. So I think that's what went on there. I think he saw the landscape across the country. Is like, I'm getting out of this. I don't want to be lumped in with ornery quarterbacks who haven't won championships in the last 5-6 years.
And especially, like you said, with the Rodgers-Watson things going, those two nightmares, he wanted no part of being in that category. And when his contract's up, he moves on, like Tom did. Like, I'll stick it out and I'll shut up, and then whatever happens after that, it happens. But,
that's all.
Yeah, because I don't think he's going to finish his career in Seattle, but at least for now, it's kind of quiet.
I have no problem with that whatsoever.
No, I don't either.
If he plays out his contract, or sometimes there's a player option for the last year. I don't know how his contract is structured. But if he wants to opt out, and that opt out is part of the structure of the contract, I have zero problems with that. I'm all about it. Like, if you want to go somewhere else and you think that's best, I may disagree whether or not that's best for you. Like, I disagreed with, say, like Kevin Durant, that the best thing for him was to leave, Golden State. I thought that was a mistake. Whether I don't think he was wrong. What's the word? Like, professionally, I don't think he was professionally wrong for doing it. He didn't opt out. I don't like what Harden did this year.
Right. That's the better.
Here's what I even say. Like, I said this about Watson when he was complaining about the front office for Houston. Dude, you signed the contract. Now it's a year ago. When he first complained, it was 6 months. And it was the same people in the front office. Aaron Rodgers. Murphy was there when you signed your contract 2 years ago. Gunagunster, whatever the hell, Kunagunster, Goonie Koost. I don't know what the hell his name is. It's a tough one. I feel bad for that. That must have been a rough one to grow up with.
I think all those are acceptable on this podcast. Those sound
Cunty
great.
Goon. I don't know what that all is, but he was
Gunty
there.
Crust.
Yeah, Krusty Con. I don't know what. I don't know who or what, but those guys were there. It's not like this is a 5-year contract that was signed 5 years ago. He just signed it a year and a half ago. Like, this is a relatively new contract. Those same guys were there. Why didn't you just walk then? You didn't have to sign it. So that's what I don't like, the guys who leave mid-contract. You signed it. And with Russell Wilson, the same guys you signed the contract with were there. Like, the same guys that are there now that you're complaining about were there when you signed the contract.
Yep.
So did they not? Did they know what they were doing then, but not now? It just gets ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So play out your contract, and then, dude, you want to go, then go. I begrudge nobody. Yeah, I begrudge nobody the opportunity. I may think it's not the best thing for you to do, but I don't begrudge your right to do it if that's what you want to do.
If you want to move on, move on. You have the right to at that point.
Do you think this was smart of him to do it?
Yeah.
To kind of come out and say this?
Oh, yeah.
You think that's what he was thinking, though? Like, I don't want to be in that group.
I think the longer A-Rod Rodgers is doing all this crap, and he's like, dialing up his agent, get me a press conference. I got to get out. I don't want to be in this category.
Yeah, because
like you said, and he's Mr. Goody anyway, so of course he wants to be out of that limelight.
Right. So now the funny thing about that is his part of the story was kind of over already, They signed an offensive lineman.
Yes.
They made moves that he would have been happy with. What was happening was every time they talked about Aaron Rodgers, they would say, Tom Brady got the players that he wanted. This one got the players that Josh Allen got the players that he wanted. Russell Wilson made some noise and got the players that he wanted. Every single time it'd be Russell Wilson made noise. And he's like, dude, I don't want this constantly coming back to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, he why he made the statement. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
NBA playoffs. So there was a shit ton of news that came out today that's not even about the games itself. Holy shit.
Well timed.
I don't know which one's bigger. I'm going to start with Chris Paul because to me.
I was going to say the other one's bigger, I think, but go ahead.
Well, here's why I said Chris. All right, so the two stories that are hot as shit right now that literally just hit today is that, Chris Paul is in the COVID protocol. It doesn't mean he has COVID or test positive. It probably means he was in close proximity to someone who has COVID. From what I understand, at least it wasn't confirmed before we started the podcast, but the word out was that he's been vaccinated, and to his and to the Suns' benefit, the other series, Clippers and Jazz, is still going on. So there is a little bit of a buffer time for, them to clear up, especially if he's been vaccinated. If he's been vaccinated, in my opinion, he should be cleared to play. Any other conclusion is pure bullshit.
Right.
Like, it's pure bullshit. We had pictures of LeBron James out breaking protocol. Not only did he not get fined, but they didn't even question whether or not they should hold him out of games. So if Chris Paul has been vaccinated, this story should be over now, immediately. I can't confirm that yet, so we'll see. But I think that may turn out to be a better situation than the other one, which is Kawhi Leonard. It may be as bad as tearing his ACL. At the very least, we know he sprained his ACL. At least that's what the last word I got from the team that they released says sprained ACL. Definitely out. What, tomorrow night, whatever it would be, whenever the next game is. Is it tonight?
Yeah, I think so.
Definitely out tonight. Probably done for the series. Possibly done for the playoffs.
Man, oh man.
Interesting.
And it's funny you say that too. Well, nothing's funny about the torn ACL, but just last week, you're bashing Kawhi about not being a leader and then he comes with two phenomenal games. And Paul George stepped up too. It wasn't just Kawhi. But your sister's in. Hi, Lee.
Hey, what's up, Lee?
So
they won a championship. It was awesome. So,
so Kawhi and the Clippers bounced back. So it's a 2-2 now, going back to Utah. But now that's a tall order without Kawhi.
Oh.
So now we'll really see what Paul George is made of now.
Yeah, and I think that's totally unfair. So in other playoff games last night, the Nets, pulled off a victory over the Bucks, which was really. I've defended Coach Bud, however the hell you say his name, Budenholzer or whatever for the Bucks.
Yeah, whatever.
Here's a guy who, when he was the coach of the Hawks, wins Coach of the Year, and then abruptly gets fired. And as the Bucks head coach, he's been named Coach of the Year, and he's got his head on the chopping block, which is incredible. How he's such a genius that he's Coach of the Year, and he's so bad he gets fired. But I got to give him some heat. I've defended him vehemently because you can't always control what your players are going to do. But in this case, I have to kill him because
me too.
You got James Harden. I put out a thing on Instagram last night, and I said if James Harden plays between 25 and 30 minutes, I think the Nets could pull it out, even if he's just a decoy or there's just something about one of your better players being on the court. But Harden was hurt. He played. And what was great about the game was that you have a guy like KD who played every second of the game, didn't come out once, played 48 minutes, throws up 49 points, and can carry a team, barely carry a team to victory, right? He played his ass off. But he's an all-time great player, dude. You can't expect, what the hell's his name? Paul George? You can't expect him to catch.
No.
Now, I actually think the surrounding players around him are better than the surrounding players around the Nets, around KD. But and now you're going to Utah, who's that's the best home court advantage in the entire NBA. Dude, it's not going to happen. Even if they found a way to pull one win off at home in Game 6, they ain't going to win in Game 7 anyway. So in Utah, it's just not happening.
No, you're probably right. But to go back to I know we're a little bit all over the place with the NBA, but to go back to the game last night with the Nets and the Bucks, dude, Durant's stat line was incredible.
Crazy.
Now there's talk about maybe not going nuts for Game 6, sit some guys, play him half a game, and whatever. I don't know. When you have a chance to end the series, I think you end the series.
Absolutely.
I don't like this. Greenberg said it this morning on something like, you sit Harden again now. You maybe play Durant. You maybe play Durant a half, and you see if you're in the game or not. Dude, they were down 16 in the third quarter yesterday, so that's ridiculous.
This is why I'm hammering the coach here, because you have a hobbled James Harden, you have no Kyrie Irving, and let's be honest, the rest of the Nets, it's thin. Jeff Green went off last night.
He played well.
It was like he was 5 years younger.
You know that they played together with the Sonics?
Did they really?
That's how long him
That's
and
crazy. The funny thing is, I still would give the Bucks the edge here, because what is K going to come out and score 50 points every night? Because that's what he's going to have to do. How much better is Harden's hamstring going to be? It's a hamstring, for Christ's sake.
It's not.
Doesn't heal overnight. So, thanks a lot, Ralph.
Well, Ralph, I'm not that old.
Yeah, exactly.
And hockey starts at 5:45 today. If you're,
I want to say two hairless white guys. That's fair.
That'll give you.
So that's why I just think, typical mainstream media comes out and says, "Oh, because the Nets won last night, this series is over." You're the same idiots that told us when it was 0-2 that the series was over. Things happen, things change. Hell, KD might go and get hurt tomorrow night or whenever the next. Like, you don't know nobody knows what's going to happen. And if there is one thing that the Bucks are, it's they're the healthiest team in the NBA right now. That's still left in the playoffs.
To answer Ralph, Joe Harris is the
Joe Harris. Joe Harris.
Who was terrible yesterday, by the way.
He has been rough lately. He's a very good shooter, but lately he's been clanking them pretty good. Oof. So, but yeah, if you're gonna ask Paul George to do what KD did, and KD was barely able to do it. He played an epic game and squeaked it out. They might win a game at home. I doubt it. I gotta be honest. I think the series is over. Best player is gone. I mean, if Michael Jordan were off the Bulls, if LeBron were off the Lakers or the Cleveland back in the day or Miami, it's over. Like, it's just over. It is what it is. Like, you lose your best player, you're not going to win. It's pretty much as simple as that, So,
to hit the Suns roll, the Suns absolutely crushed the MVP and the Nuggets. We said last week the guards were going to kill them, and that's what happened. Booker and Paul. Paul's playing out of his mind.
I called him. He's not that. He didn't win MVP. Maybe he should have. Maybe he shouldn't. I don't know. But right now in the playoffs, he's the most important player. He's the MIP, the most important player. Like, he matters. I mean, listen, you got your great players, and those guys are. I'm just saying, like, this is a team that couldn't even make the playoffs last year. They came close, but they didn't even make the playoffs last year. And now they're the number 2 seed. They're probably the best team in the West right now, as far as that are still left in the playoffs. Assuming he's going to play, he's the most important player. I mean, dude, he had more steals than turnovers. Rick Bucher talked about this the other day too, and I like using Rick Bucher because he doesn't speak in hyperbole. He just talks in like real talk, facts, being real. He said a statistic that has kind of gone by the wayside in the NBA that Chris Paul excels at is assist to turnover ratio. Like, you would think like guys like LeBron and KD, like they turn the ball over all the friggin' time. Their assist to turnover ratio, they're in the 50s, 60s, like they're 50, 60, 70th ranked. LeBron's like over 100. Chris Paul in this past series had more assists than had more steals than turnovers.
Wow.
He had more steals than turnovers. And what that means is every time you turn the ball over, your team didn't get a shot. Doesn't mean you would have made the shot. But if you're shooting 40% from the field, you can do the math, okay? Mm-hmm. They never turn the ball over. When he's in control, they don't turn the ball over. So it's almost like every time down the court, you're going to get a shot. And that adds up by the end of a game. And And we don't talk about that kind of a statistic. It's almost like Chris Paul, we should love more than anything because he's the anti-analytics guy. Like he doesn't shoot a lot of threes. He shoots a lot of mid-range jumpers, which they tell you not to do. He doesn't turn the ball over. Like he does everything that analytics tell you not to do. Meanwhile, I think he's right now the most important player in the playoffs right now because when he's rolling, Phoenix is tough, dude. Phoenix is tough.
And out 36 years old. He's playing great. The veteran leadership that they got. I mean, you touched on that last week.
The other team. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think you're going the same path. The one more game that the Hawks and the Sixers.
Bizarre. There's two things. There's two things that have been so fascinating with this playoffs. One of them to me is Chris Paul, just what he's been able to do from a leadership, no turnovers, all that kind of stuff. But the other story is injuries. And the Sixers are a perfect example. Like they had, what looked like a very complete team. Like you look like they kind of ran 8, 9, 10 deep, depending on how far you wanted to go with it. And then once again, injuries hit them, and you got Embiid with the messed up knee. Now he looked fine until the other night, and they get out to a big lead and they cough it up too. And this is the other thing. I don't know if this is a Doc Rivers thing. If you go all the way back to Boston, go to some time, get some games with the Clippers.
A lot of games with the Clippers.
They were kind of notorious for late game collapses, second half collapses.
Before they got their Garnett and Ray Allen help Paul Pierce, Doc was lousy.
Yeah, and at some point when there's when that happens one time, come on, no one thing falls on one guy, but when it happens over many years, over multiple teams, you have to start questioning. But then the other problem, we talked about Ben Simmons, the most. He's just such an enigma when it comes to NBA players. He doesn't fit in this era, but yet he does certain things that make them better. Here's a guy who's going to make $40 million last year that with like 2.5, 3 minutes left in the game, they took him off the court because he can't hit a foul shot. That's a problem.
Where'd you hear that before?
That's a freaking problem. That's a real problem.
How about the Greek Freak last night? He had friggin' Harden on him, and a gimpy Harden, and he wouldn't go to the rim because he was afraid to go to the free throw line.
It's unacceptable.
To me,
it's unacceptable. What do they call them? Free throws. They're free. You're a goddamn pro. Your only job is to play basketball.
Sickening.
You don't have to. I don't even think he needs to become great at shooting threes, but make your foul shots, dude. Figure out how to do foul shots. Like it's just embarrassing.
So Ralph asked a question that I'm going to answer him. I think it might be the quick turnaround from the bubble to the season.
I don't know.
What else could it be?
I just think, I don't really have a good answer for it. I just don't know that it's that. I really don't.
So it's just a fluky thing. And he goes, hockey had the same strange season, but
hockey's different though. You don't get the same kind of you don't get the same kind of hamstring pulls. You don't get the same kind of knee injuries. You never hear of ankle injuries. It's just different. The kind of injuries that you get in the NBA, you don't get ever in hockey. And hockey injuries are more impact injuries. You take a fucking puck to the mouth or some face, shit, and you go get stitches, and those sons of bitches are right back in the game. Look, you're not going to get an argument from me. I think NBA players are soft, but a pulled hamstring is a pulled hamstring. Now, you want to say these guys need to do a better job of putting themselves, being flexible, working on your flexibility, and not getting pulled hamstrings. I don't remember Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. I don't remember these guys getting pulled hamstrings all the time.
I know.
Who was it? Green, I think it is. We were talking about the Sixers.
There's
a role. I don't know. I don't know. I forget what the hell's. Shit, I got Jeff Green on the mind from last night. Maybe it's not Green. I could be making a mistake. He's got a pulled muscle in his calf. You're not going to get that in hockey.
Bible?
No. He's just 3-point shooter. Yeah. He played with Toronto when Kawhi was there.
Danny Green.
Oh, Danny Green. I didn't think you said Danny.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
It's the intranet. It was the intranet. That's
Clean your ears out, too.
It was the computer. You're not going to get those in other sports. And the reality is you can't play basketball with a pulled hamstring. You can't play basketball with pulled calf muscle. It's just not going to happen. So,
right.
It is what it is. I do think they're soft. I do think NBA players are soft. They flop. They're soft. I don't have a lot of respect for their physicality.
Yeah, Ralph, we're not sticking up for the basketball players. They are definitely soft. I agree. It's a different game, even from the 90s and like even.
But there are just injuries that you get. Yeah, there are injuries that you get that you just can't deal with in a sport like basketball, and they're getting them a lot. And I just don't get. I don't understand. We say quick turnover. It was 2 months for the teams that made it to the finals.
That's true.
Okay,
that's true.
76ers didn't make it to the finals.
No.
We're making a little too much of this. And oh, by the way, if it was the quick turnover, then you would have saw those injuries in the beginning of the year. What are these, hired hamstrings? Come on. Guys making $44 million. Have drink some coffee or wake up your hamstring. I don't know. Just it's poor. It's just
like Ralph said before the hockey game last night, the goalie for the Islanders got trucked. He got steamrolled.
Yeah.
And he wanted to stay in the game. They had to take him out.
In hockey, you get more impact injuries, which if it's a deep bone bruise or if it's a whatever, you can get over those things quicker because it's not going to, it doesn't slow you down. I mean, literally slow you down from being fast or whatever. It's just, they hurt like a son of a bitch.
A missing tooth isn't going to stop your performance.
Correct. You could still make a slap shot if you,
unless
that's
you're
all I know about hockey too. See, that's also the problem, Ralph. I don't know a whole hell of a lot about hockey. I can talk about it. That's the problem. We talked about this one of the first episodes that we ever did. I said one of the most underrated sports to watch on television is playoff hockey. It is very exciting because it's super intense. So he's right. If you're out there and you're looking for something to watch, playoff hockey is awesome. My ability to talk about it is limited. So there were also, I want to go to the phone. There was some moves that happened today. I got to find this on here. Coaches got fired. There was some mutual separations. Yes. So Pelicans fire Stan Van Gundy. That seemed somewhat mutual. Now you're going to have Zion Williamson. He'll have his third or fourth coach in 4 years. So he'll have gone from Duke to a new coach at the Pelicans to a new coach at the Pelicans to a new coach at the Pelicans. That's going to work out just fine. And that's why I told you keep your eye on Ja Morant. Okay. Scott Brooks, interestingly, out at Washington, and this is really just a contract issue. They couldn't come to terms. I think Scott Brooks is a pretty good coach. I remember him back with Hughes with Oklahoma City. I thought he was a pretty damn good coach. Look, Washington is not a great team, and he did a pretty good job with them at the end of the season. Yeah. So I think he deserves to be there. I just don't know what kind of difference it would have made, but. And I thought this was interesting. I want to know your thoughts on this. Apparently, Kentucky head coach John Calipari has interest in coming back to the NBA. What do you think?
I think it was only a matter of time because Calipari, I'm shocked he was at Kentucky for as long as he's been because he's one of those guys who can't sit still. But, I mean, you have one of the best college jobs in the world. I mean, they give you play in the biggest arena. You got all the money to travel, recruit. You're right in the middle of the country.
You think he's getting tired of the one and done thing?
Oh, yeah. And he started it.
He's the king of it. Oh, well, that's what's hilarious about it, right? He's the king of it.
How old is John? Is he in his 60s yet or no?
I don't know, but if I had to guess, you're the one with the supercomputer over there. Aren't you the one that always comes up with the data? I'm going to say something like 57, 58.
That's probably a good number.
Tell me what you got. I think 57, 58. Ralph says Lane Kiffin named head coach at Miami. So my cousin Ralph,
Coach Cal 62.
62. He's a good looking 62. He's kind of got that Pat Riley in him, where as he
ages,
the big
ZD.
He looks just fine. It's like I got the big ZD in the house. I have been fooled into believing that Lane Kiffin is the new head coach at every school pretty much in this country by cousin Ralph. And no, you're not going to get me this time. Plus, I think he's doing a pretty good job at Ole Miss, and I think he wants to turn them into a power, which would be great if he could compete with Alabama. Yeah. How fun would that be? That's a great
college town too.
It is.
Can you see Calipari coaching Zion?
I could. Could you see Calipari coaching Ja Morant?
That's not an opening right now, is it?
No.
Look at you, the Morant wagon. I could see it, but I don't know.
Could you see Calipari coaching the Milwaukee Bucks?
Yes. Yes.
Could you see Calipari coaching the Portland Trailblazers?
Yeah, but I
don't think he wants to go out and live in the middle of nowhere.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think
he likes the camera.
I don't think he wants to coach the Wizards either.
I don't think I would not take that job. I'm not interested. And I like Bradley Beal. I just don't like Russell Westbrook. I like watching him. I just don't want him on my team.
Yeah, I think there's a couple options for him if he wants them.
Could be interesting.
Because you said he likes the camera.
He loves
how many primetime games is he going to get with Zion and the Pelicans?
I was just going to say you probably have it right that Zion the Pelicans job is a good fit.
Probably yeah.
It's a good fit. Plus there's a lot of young players on that team. Guys that are like kind of I don't want to say fresh out of college, but they're close enough to college.
And there's play the odds. There's probably 2 Kentucky guys on it because there's Kentucky guys all over the damn league. So and he's used to the young guys. He could relate to them. Yeah, that's not.
I don't know if you were too young at the time, but I actually thought he did a decent job with the Nets when he was the head coach of the Nets. His problem was he was a little too intense all the time, and while you can do that in college, the NBA just doesn't lend itself to that on a night in and night out basis. And I'm curious if he would be able to make the adjustment and say, tone it down a little bit. Plus, these guys are bazillionaires, and they tune that out pretty damn quick. Stan Van Gundy is a loud, in-your-face son of a bitch. Although Thibodeau, did his thing with the Knicks this year, and he's a pain in the ball sack. So it's hard to say, but I would think he'd have to tone it down just a bit from what he did with the Nets and probably what he's doing with Kentucky.
Well, that was 30 years ago. It was
a while ago, but I'm just saying you are who you are, right? Rick Pitino goes to the Boston Celtics, and he was kind of just Rick Pitino.
But is Calipari more ripping his guys or ripping the refs? Because I see him on the sidelines. He doesn't look like he's killing his guys much.
It's not even just killing them. It's just constant yelling. He's just a yeller, and that's kind of who he is. And I just don't know. See, I'll give you an example. Coach K is a yeller, okay? Coach Krzyzewski.
Tom Izzo's a yeller.
Freaking yeller. But those guys coach, both of them, I'm glad you bring up Izzo, because I'm pretty sure he was an assistant coach with Krzyzewski on the U.S. Olympic team. Am I correct with that?
I think he assisted him. I think one time he was. I don't think it was like Boeheim's been there every year.
I'm going to talk about Izzo in a second, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because he's a different case, but I think Krzyzewski's probably similar. My point about Krzyzewski was more about, hey, if you look at him with the U.S. Olympic basketball team, his intensity level in the way he spoke to those guys was different. Why? He's smart, wise. Respect. Hey, it's not how you talk to these guys. It's just not going to work. Now, Izzo's different. Izzo, it will bite your friggin' head off, man. But then he will literally give you a kiss. Like, he will literally kiss the player. And as we've seen multiple times over the last, I'll say couple of years, 2 years, he will chew out a player. A player will snap back at him, and he will defend the player to the media.
When the media says
about the way he talked to you, and he goes, did you see how I was yelling at him? So he came back at me. He's an intense player. He loves to win. Like, he defends the player. So that's also a very different and distinct style. So, yes, you can yell at the player if the player knows he can yell back, and that's okay, because that's just how we communicate. If that's just how we communicate, then that's how we communicate, and so be it, and let's do it. I think they're fine with that. But it's not going to be this is how I talk to you. Don't you dare talk to me like that. You know what I mean? You can't do that. Forget about it. But
oh my God,
if that's just our relationship where I yell at you, you yell back. Rah! Okay, let's go do it. That'll work too. But it's just got to kind of be known. It's got to be known. So that's in Calipari's ballpark. Whether or not he can handle it or not, I don't know. I don't know if he can make the adjustment.
And listen, at 62, this is probably going to be the last shot.
Yeah, I kind of like to see it though, because I think he's a really good coach. I think he's a really good coach. Krzyzewski was different because he was Duke basketball. I don't look at who the hell did I just say?
Calipari.
I don't look at. All right, give me a break. I don't look at Calipari as Kentucky basketball. He's well traveled, so it's just a different scenario. I don't mind him leaving. He's not the school, whereas Duke is Krzyzewski. Right. So, all right, let's we got our, what the hell do we have? NFC South?
Correct, sir.
NFC South. I had a lot of fun breaking these teams down, and I cannot wait to tell you my thoughts on the win totals for these teams.
Alrighty.
Because I may have to make a run to Atlantic City and put some numbers down. Ooh. And I mean big numbers. I mean big numbers, like $25, $30. No bullshit.
Listen, you might have to.
Heavy.
A lot of singles.
Yeah. All right, let's look at let's start with Tampa Bay, world champs, Super Bowl champs. Almost nothing in the offseason, which is friggin' amazing because somehow they were able to sign. Well, we know it's not somehow. We know how. They re-signed virtually everybody from last year's championship team, and we know how they did it. Tom Brady is making, as far as the cap number, somewhere between 9 and 12 million next year. Aaron Rodgers, if you want special players, take a $30 million pay cut. Russell Wilson, if you want special players, take a $30 million pay cut. So they kept everyone.
All 22 starters are back.
I think that's unprecedented.
Dude, it has to be.
Just unprecedented. You had guys taking, I don't want to say they took pay cuts, but they took less. They were free agents. And they're like, yeah, I'll stay. Now, I think there's two reasons for that. I do think it's because you want to take another shot at winning. But I don't think that's everyone's every reason. Okay, because we've seen teams, whether it was New England or Seattle or whoever it was, somebody always leaves. Like somebody always leaves. I do think the other part of that is Tom. I just do. I just think they liked playing with him. I think a lot of the younger players liked seeing the older guy act a little silly sometimes. Dude, I felt like they affected him, and he clearly affected them.
Yeah.
So it is amazing though that all those guys re-signed. It just blows me away.
And a full offseason now after the COVID crap last year. They're going to be ready to go, man.
Now, as in one of my movies, one of my favorite lines ever is there's many a slip twixt a cup and a lip. Many things can happen between now and the playoffs next year. Injuries, players underperform. Things happen all the time. Okay. So there's no guarantee that they're going to win the Super Bowl. But I'll get to their win total, which I'm fascinated by. They did draft Kyle Trask, and I have to ask you, in the age of Aaron Rodgers pissing and moaning and crying in his cereal bowl about the fact that Green Bay drafted a quarterback, do you think they told Tom that they might do this? Now, granted, it was in the third round, but
I think they did.
It's probably a good idea to communicate to your starter that we might draft a quarterback. Even if Tom Brady knows he ain't being replaced.
The 7-time champ going on 8. Yeah, let's just give him a ring. Give him a ring.
So that was, to me, that was the one draft of note. Did you have any other draft picks that you wanted to bring up that they did?
No, I think they're just ready to go, man. I think they're ready to saddle back up and go.
Here's their schedule: first 5 games: Dallas, Atlanta, at the Rams, at New England, home against Miami. And this is once again, I think you're going to get a really good sense with that schedule. Do they have a Super Bowl hangover, or are they ready to go to work? And while Tom Brady, I know, is already going to work, does Bruce Arians have enough Belichick in him? Because Belichick didn't let these guys feel too good during camp. Like, there never was a New England Super Bowl hangover.
No.
It just never happened. So this is a question for Bruce Arians. Are you a good enough head coach to not allow a Super Bowl hangover? And I don't have an answer for that, to be honest with you. But I think those first 5 games will give you a good indication. I think there's very winnable games. I think there's moderately winnable games. I think there's a couple tough games. If they come out of that 3-2, I think you say they didn't come into the season fully ready. They should beat Dallas. They should beat Atlanta. They should beat the Rams. They should beat New England. They should beat Miami. They should be they'll be favored in every one of those games. Even at Rams, I think maybe they'll be a slight underdog at Rams.
Well, depending on how they play the first 2 weeks too, you
don't know that though. Yeah.
But dude, Tampa at New England week 4 is going to be fun.
Oh, can't wait.
That's going to be fun.
Can't wait for that. My God, that's going to be so cool. That's going to be so cool.
What's their win total at, pal?
Over and under 11.5. And I personally think that's a bit on the low side. I think it's a bit on the low side. Super Bowl champs. You have New Orleans without Drew Brees. You have the Falcons. You have Carolina. I think that's a little on the low side. I'll give you my win total for them later on. But okay. You want to add anything with Tampa there?
No, sir. I'm good.
You're good? All right, New Orleans made a lot of cuts this year. They came into this offseason literally $100 million over the salary cap, which I don't even know how they got under it. It's amazing. It's amazing. And maybe more than anything, no Drew Brees. This is the biggest change, obviously, by far for their team. And frankly, they don't know who their quarterback is right now. And, I don't know that anybody can tell you who it's going to be. Who do you think it'll end up being?
I think it's going to be Winston. I think Winston wins it. I think Taysom Hill gives him so much for Sean Payton, other than the quarterback position, and it's a good change of pace to bring him in on a couple of occasions. But I don't think, Mike agrees. My boy Mike. And listen, Winston with the new eyeballs, the 2020 vision. Now he got his vision fixed, and he learned a year under Breeze. Maybe he got his head right. Maybe so.
I'm with you on this one, actually. I'm with you on this one. I have to believe, or how about this? I'll say it this way. I need to find out if he learned from Drew Brees. Is he still a turnover machine, or has he learned to control that? So here's what I would probably do. I think if you're Sean Payton, you know who Taysom Hill is. You saw him start. What did he start? 3-4 games last year? Something like that. Whatever.
I think it was 4, but one of them he played a wide receiver in the Broncos, so that was a given game.
Okay,
that's a stupid game.
So you have an idea of who he is. I think you want to find out who Jameis Winston is now that he's been in the system, and he'll also have an offseason for the first time, frankly, with this organization. And I think it's easy if Jameis Winston looks like shit in the first 3 weeks. It's easy to go to Taysom Hill and say, "Well, this is our guy because we know what he can do." If you start Taysom Hill and then switch to Jameis and then he sucks also, now you got to go what? Go back to Taysom Hill?
Yeah,
now you're stuck and your season just got flushed. So I think you start Jameis Winston, and I actually agree. I think he'll do pretty good. Listen, I understand he had 30 interceptions and who knows how many other turnovers just from fumbling the ball. He also led the league in touchdowns. So and he threw for 5,000 yards. So there's a lot of talent there. And now you put him with Sean Payton, learning from Drew Brees. I think there's a lot of potential. I don't know if it's going to happen, and I'm not going to predict that it is going to happen because Jameis Winston just too much of a wild card, and he does love those crab legs. Yeah, crab legs to crawfish. She switched, right? So they're over. Oh, let me give you their schedule. Home against Green Bay, at Carolina, at New England, home against the Giants, at Washington. That's a tough start. I could absolutely see them going 1-4, 0-5.
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in a minute too. But we're not high on them anyway to start the year. But I just want to add one more. I want to add one more thing. Sean Payton without Breeze is 8-1 in the last 2 years. It's crazy, right?
I don't know. You want to make a living on that, but yeah, he's
going to have to now.
He's a good coach. Well,
he's
absolutely,
got no choice.
Absolutely. So they're over and under for win total this year 9.5. I think it's an interesting number. I think that's an interesting number.
That's high for me, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. Next, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and their biggest change this season was a new coach, Arthur Smith, and maybe their second biggest was, the trade. Julio is gone, but in the draft, they picked up Kyle Pitts. Now, yes, sir, you point to me like you know what I'm going to say. I love Kyle Pitts. I think he's probably the most talented player in this particular draft. With that said, if I was them, I wouldn't have picked him. Because
no, I know.
I don't think they needed him. Their problem, excuse me, my shoulder's killing me. Their problem was an offense. They score a shit ton of points, dude. They can't stop a high school football team.
Yeah, they have no run game either, too.
Yeah, and then you just hire a head coach who's an offensive-minded coach. I got no problem with. I like Arthur Smith. He's done a great job with Tennessee. I don't mean that as a knock on Smith. I just mean he's not a defensive coach. It doesn't mean that their coordinator, you lean on your coordinator in a situation like that. But the problem was defense, and I didn't see much. So here's one problem I have with fans and media. The draft happens, and you're like, oh, they fixed that problem in the draft. Dude, are you seriously going to rely on a rookie to fix all your ills? If it was that simple, everyone would be good.
Guy.
Yeah, and he's a rookie.
Oh.
Like, slow down, dude. Like, it doesn't work like that. Or I should say it rarely works like that. You know, Jefferson for the Vikings was amazing last year. It doesn't always work like that, especially when you're thinking corners and linebackers and defensive line. It doesn't always work like that. Rarely does it.
And they didn't make the playoffs, so what the fuck did they do? Like,
it's just it. So, Julio being gone, I actually think that's a plus in the long run. And so we'll see. I still think Matt Ryan is a very good quarterback. I always thought he was a good quarterback.
He's got some years left in him.
Very healthy, right? Still a strong arm. As mobile as he's ever been, which is not much, but it's still what it is. So how about this for a schedule? Philly, at Tampa, at the Giants, home against Washington, home against the Jets.
That's not great. That's not a great start for them either.
It's not great, but there are wins in there. And here's why I'll say there are wins in there. Their over and under total this year is 7.
Yeah, that's a good number for them, I think.
I think that's pretty sharp. I think that's actually pretty sharp.
So, yeah, there are wins in there, and I think there's a couple questionable games they can get to. We'll see.
Listen, they're in a weak, other than Tampa, obviously, they're in a relatively weak division. You know, if they were in the NFC West or something like that, I'd say it's going to be rough. The reality is we think New Orleans is going to be down, and Carolina is, I think, going to be improved, but they're probably still not a playoff team. You got Sam Darnold, rookie quarterback. There are winnable games out there for them. So, and they're playing what? NFC East, it looks like that's who their schedule against.
They play the both AFC East and the NFC East.
Yeah, and there are winnable games in that if you at least go by last year. So here's why you have to, at least as a Falcons fan, you should be somewhat encouraged. I would think more times than not when your team goes on the field, you have the better quarterback. And that's always a good place to start.
Yeah, I agree.
I always feel like if I go on the field and my quarterback is worse than yours, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. Can it happen? Of course it can happen, but it's going to be really tough. So, and more times than not, you're going to have the better quarterback, especially in your division, other than against Tampa, or should I say Tampa. Finally, we hit up Carolina. Maybe their biggest offseason move was landing Sam Darnold. We shall see. That is yet to be seen. I love Sam, but I'm also wise enough to acknowledge that I only think he still can be very good. I don't know that. And, if this doesn't work out, which is possible, it's a disaster of a move because, you're wasting time, you're wasting money, and whatever draft picks that they gave up, you've wasted draft picks. But more importantly, probably than any of that, is the time, because you're going to have to at least give him 2 years. And if it doesn't work for 2 years, now you can look back and say, dude, it didn't work for 3 years with the Jets. Why did you make it? Like, you get hammered. If this doesn't work with Darnold, you get hammered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why it's, especially now when you look back at the draft and you say, God forbid Justin Fields with the Bears turns out to be a ball player, they could have had him. They didn't have to move up. They didn't have to give up picks. They could have had Justin Fields, and they didn't. They took a damaged goods Sam Darnold.
Or Mac Jones. Mac Jones too.
Yeah, I was never big on Mac.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Mac and cheese.
Speaking about Mac, Christian McCaffrey back and healthy.
Yes. But they lost Curtis
before.
Samuel. I know you don't seem to give a shit about Curtis Samuel, but I think he's a pretty damn good player. What is it, the Ohio State thing? Is that what bothers you so much?
I think I had him in a couple fantasy leagues, and he just shit his pants every time I put him in the starting lineup, so that gets me salty.
Hey, Mike, hold on. Hey, Mike. The Falcons lost almost all their secondary, but their secondary sucked. So the fact that they lost almost all their secondary is probably a net positive.
Addition by subtraction.
Seriously.
I've said this before. I love their young defense. All the 2020s draft last year, they took all defense. They drafted J.C. Horn, a shutdown corner this year. And so it's just improving.
And Terrence Marshall at wide receiver.
Oh, which
I think is an underrated pick.
Fuck Curtis Samuel. I'm sorry.
Oh, my God. That's so Buckeye of you. Or anti-Buckeye.
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 What's their
they
win total,
also
buddy
drafted
boy?
a running back named Chuba Hubbard, who I hear
Oak State.
very exciting things about him. And I think more importantly, I think this is so important with a young up and coming team. Love their head coach, love their offense coordinator. Those guys, got Brady, who's their offense coordinator, he was 31 years old, was a candidate for multiple teams to be a head coach. Matt Rule is the head. They got a good side. They got a good thing going. They got good things in place. I think this is an up and coming team. I don't know that they're ready yet, but they're an up and coming team. Their schedule this year is the Jets, which they will lose. Saints, Texans, at Dallas, home against Philly. Now, if you take out the Jets game, which they'll lose, but we recognize, if we're being honest, that they could win and probably should win. This is a team that could very well go 4-1, 5-0 in their first 5 games. And if they did, I'm just going to say, look out. You mentioned their defense. Last year's draft, not this past one, last year's draft, they drafted almost exclusively defense, and most of those guys are starters, which is amazing. If Sam Darnold works out and they start off 4-1, or God forbid 5-0, but if they start off 4-1, I'm just telling you now, look out. Momentum is a bitch, and all those other things we talked about moving forward, look out. I'm just saying, look out. That's all.
You have a win total for the Panthers, sir.
How about 7.5?
I like it.
I do too. Up, and away. So my number 4 team for this division, the Atlanta Falcons. I think their number was deadly sharp. I have them at 7-10.
I have nothing more to add. That's perfect, and the exact same team.
Now, I think they're a worse team than that, but I think because they have an exceptional quarterback, they're gonna bugger some teams. They're gonna stick around in games that they probably shouldn't, and probably win a couple games that they shouldn't, and piss people off. Because I think they're bad. I really do think they're bad, but I think they have some real weapons on offense, and they might win a handful of shootouts of games they shouldn't win. My number 3 team might surprise some people here, but I just don't like them.
Come marching.
It's the Saints. Yep, it's the Saints, and I think they got a sub 500 record. I think they go 8-9, which means they go well under the total of 9.5.
I got them at 7-10 in third place. Also,
you got them even lower than me. Jesus, I felt bad about it. My second place team, I have the Carolina Panthers, because I do think at worst they start off the season 3-2, which is still very positive. And I love going over the total. I have them going 10-7.
Wow, you got a little bit higher. You got a little momentum
is a bitch. I think a happy Sam Darnold with a much better offensive line and significantly better weapons than he ever had even sniffed at with the New York Jets. I think he's tough as nails. I think they get on a roll, and I just think momentum is a bitch in the NFL, and I think they're in the right division for them to have a good season.
So I have them at 8-9 in second place, but I think this is the year, though, they make a lot of noise. They lose a lot of tough games, but they're close. And then next year, maybe they take off running. I think Brady's a year older, and Falcons and Saints are going to be maybe worse. So I think the buffer in the future, I think, is this year.
I think we've talked about that with Carolina in previous podcasts, where we said they're moving in the right direction at the right time. It's probably good for them that they're not peaking right now, because Brady and, like we said, they brought back everybody from this team. You don't want to be at your best this year. You want to compete, but you want to compete. You want to really be at your best probably 2 years from now. And they're right on pace. Again, it all comes down to whether or not Sam Darnold can make it happen. And that is a huge if, dude. It's a massive gamble. It's a massive gamble, again, considering that they could have had Justin Fields, whether you like him or not. So what happens is it doesn't matter whether you like them then. It just matters 2 years from now. If Sam Darnold sucks and the Bears are lighting it up with Justin Fields, people will look back and say, could have had him without making a move.
Yeah.
But if we believe in Matt Rule, we believe in Joe Brady, we believe in their draft from last year, we believe in some of the moves they made this year, they're on the rise. I agree with you. Timing is so important in professional sports, and they're coming up. They're coming up while Tampa's kind of already up here, and they're probably going to pass on a way down. I would expect that they would be the best team in that division 2 years from now.
Yep.
2 years from now. It wouldn't totally shock me if it was a year from now, but I'll say definitely 2 years from now. And my first place team, and I think I'm lowballing it here, but Tampa obviously I think is going to win a division. I think they win the division relatively easily. I got them at 12 wins. I wanted to say 13, but it almost seems obnoxious. So I got them at 12.
Well, I guess I'm obnoxious. I got them at 13-4.
You obnoxious bastard, you.
Hey.
So you know what's going to happen. Either there's going to be injuries or fucking coach dies.
Falls
I don't
off
know,
the cliff or
something weird happens, and they end up going. Nobody can go 500 anymore. So why do they go like 9-8, and they don't make the playoffs, and everything gets thrown into flux, and Carolina wins the division, and like everything's thrown upside down. But I just assuming everyone stays healthy or mostly stays healthy, especially Tom Brady and that offensive line, which is underrated, very good offensive line. Assuming those things happen, it's the best team in the division, probably the best team in the NFC. So that's the way that goes.
I agree, bud.
All right, so you came up with this idea of before as we wrap up the show.
Yeah,
because I got to go coach some all-stars.
All-stars.
What are your favorite sports traditions / events? I think I added the events thing. I don't know if that's where you were kind of going.
I got some right there too, buddy. It's same thing.
So I literally have 5 because it's kind of weird. I was telling one of my coworkers today, I'm not a particularly what's the word, like superstitious person. Like I don't do like all the superstitious stuff, but with baseball, I'm like stupid superstitious. Like during the championship game, I had sunglasses on, and then we took the lead and the sun came down, so I took the sunglasses off. And we gave up 2 runs right then and there. Like, give me the goddamn sunglasses. Like, we had pizza for dinner last Wednesday, so we had to have pizza for dinner on Monday before the game. It's just weird. So like there are traditions that are different, but I have 5 specific because I'm not so much like that. But so my number 5 one may surprise you, but my number 5 favorite sports tradition, I do look at this as like a tradition / event. It's the baseball all-star game. And I like the baseball all-star game because it's the only one left where they actually are trying to win. Like they're actually playing the game, relatively full go.
The same as other as a regular game we played.
You're hitting, you're pitching, you're playing defense. They're diving for balls, like they're sliding, they're trying to score. And is it still set up that it carries some weight?
No, they took that away, but which is probably the right move. But like you said, it can still be played as a regular game. Yeah.
And there's just something about it. It's not even like the home run derby and all that bullshit. I just like the game. There's something special about having all these just great players on the field at the same time, playing hard. NBA All-Star Game is a joke. As much as I love the NFL, I haven't watched a Pro Bowl. I couldn't tell you the last time. It's embarrassing. But the baseball all-star game, listen, baseball itself holds a special spot for us. Our favorite movie for both of us was Sandlot because there's something about baseball that just reminds you of being a kid. And that all-star game is just very special to me. So
I wrote down 7. So I'll give you my bottom 3 quick. Just so it's more of a Yankee thing. I have curtain calls. It's like because yeah. I remember you saying this to me.
Derek Jeter.
Probably maybe 16 years ago, 17 years ago, at Volunteer Park playing softball. You're like, fucking Kenny Lofton. He's hated forever. He hits a game-winning home run. He gets a curtain call from the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Like, there's something about that, man. Like, it gives you like a goosebumps. Number 6 for me,
especially in a playoff game. My God, you feel like the whole stadium's going to crumble.
Rocking, especially the old place. Yeah.
Oh my God.
For 6, I got Thanksgiving Day football games. I think it's one of the greatest traditions.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I do like that.
You got them all. You got 3 games.
I think on multiple levels too. By the way, I think high school football, high school Thanksgiving football is just as cool. I don't know where you were going with that. Did you mean NFL?
I'm in NFL, but the high school thing's dying, especially up in North Jersey now.
Down here, they kept it. So.
Yeah. you get a break for your family. Maybe you get a little nap in if you don't like the one team. But I do think they could change maybe the teams now. The Lions and the Cowboys every Thanksgiving, it's getting a little
Especially
salty.
the Lions.
Oh God,
come on.
And
how the hell that happened?
And to match your number 5, I have the Masters as a whole. The green jacket, the spring. We've talked about this last month, 2 months ago. The course, something magical always seems to happen there. So the whole thing, the Masters in a whole, to me is number 5. So thank you for letting me fill those in while you.
No, I like those. I like those a lot. Number 4 for me, and I don't know if this is because I used to coach, and I kind of start feeling. I don't know if it's nostalgic or almost like I want to coach again, but it's the first full weekend of college football, because college football always starts usually a week or two, but it's usually a week before the NFL.
Yeah.
That first weekend of college football, it signifies so many things. Like, it's the start of football season, number 1. There's often 1 or 2 like out of conference, really awesome game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it also kind of signifies the changing of the seasons. Like, you're coming out of summer. It's no longer summertime. It's kind of back to school shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's now summer into fall. Like, it really, I know with baseball, with the start of baseball season, it's like, you're shifting from winter to spring, but lately it hasn't felt like that because it's still so goddamn cold for the beginning of baseball season.
Yeah.
But the leaves are already starting to change depending on where you are in the country. Like, there's just something about that first weekend of college. Like, I love it. It really is a turning of the calendar. And the main reason is I love football so much. And now I know that I got like 5 months of heaven on weekends, So that first weekend of college football to me is like a big deal.
So number 4 for me, I have the national anthem / the flyovers.
Love that.
So when you're at a live event like Michigan Stadium for me or Yankee Stadium, I was at a Bronco game a couple years ago, and it just brings back a flood of emotions for me. Like, you're thinking about you as a child, and that was the first time I was at Denver, and I think about my dad, and think about when you're a player and you got your helmet in your hand, and you're thinking. It just brings back a lot of the country. Depending on what's going on, 9/11 time, we were in high school. I was in high school then, and just a lot of things run your head. And I think that's a great way to like start an event. Like, it just makes. You've seen the videos, guys tearing up and want to run through a wall. So I think one of those. It's really emotional thing for me. So
my number 3 is actually very similar to that. It involves that, we'll say, and that's the Super Bowl. Because listen, the reality is, while my dad went to the Super Bowl where the Jets played
Colts.
Was it the Colts?
Yeah,
dude, he went down to Miami and bought tickets at the window on the day of the game.
Oh my God,
a lot has changed. Okay, a lot has changed. And now the Super Bowl really is like a 2-week, but for me, it's more like a 1 week. That second week, it's a week-long event. And frankly, the day of is it's really like you kind of have a feeling all day. You have this feeling all day, and you get during the day, whether it's on ESPN or NFL Network or on Fox or whatever channel is hosting the game. You get some of those behind the scenes stories about some of the players or coaches that are like, they just tear your heart out of your chest. It's also a great day because it's not usually, I'm pretty sure it's been like this for a while now. It's the last day of the Waste Management Phoenix Open. So like, you get to watch this like awesome golf tournament leading right up to the game. And then you get the flyover, and then you get the national anthem, and you get the halftime,
extravaganza.
Even if it sucks, even if you're not into it, like it, don't like it, whatever. The fact that it exists, that it happens, it's a big friggin' deal, And so the whole thing, but it's only number 3 for me. But God, since when I got my job, I've been in my job for 16 years. When they offered me the job, my boss at the time says, "All right, great, you can start on Monday." I'm like, that's not going to work for me. I'm going to be out of town. He's like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, we go away with friends, Steve and Judy at the time, for a Super Bowl." I said, "I could start on Tuesday." And he just chuckled and was like, "Okay." Ever since then, first day of school in September, I take a personal day for the day after Super Bowl. It's just automatic. The Super Bowl is just such a big deal. It's so much more than a game now.
Right,
it's food, it's friends, it's It's entertaining. It's so much more.
It's betting now. It's booze. It's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
For me, number 3, it's college football, kind of along your lines, but a little different. I love like college football traditions. Like Michigan went down to the tunnel, hits the banner. Ohio State dot the I. Notre Dame play like a champion today. Oklahoma, and Texas always play at the Cotton Bowl. The Penn State Whiteout games at night. Places rock.
Yes.
LSU home whites. Stuff like that to me is like you always know like that stuff's going to happen when you put on a college football game. College game day, which we talk about Lee Corso all the time. That has a big part of our day to start the Saturday. Yes. So just college football in a whole like that to me is a tradition. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones is at South Carolina at the home game where they played a theme to 2001. I just love that. The place just shakes. Yeah, I just love it. I agree. I do love all those things, though.
And I left out yours. Cool. Florida State, Chief Osceola, and Renegade with the Flaming Spear. Like, that's one of the best ones, too. So
yeah. And you know what's interesting? There are different fans at college football. You go to an NFL game, God forbid you're a Broncos fan. God forbid you went to, like, Vegas with a Broncos shirt on. You are legitimately taking your life into your hands, like you're risking your personal safety. College football is the exact opposite.
I know it
like,
is.
You remember like in Hoosiers where they're like the team's fans are on opposite sides and they're like, we got spirit. Yes, we do. We got spirit. How about you?
And then
that's kind of how college football is. Like we're at each other's throats, but we're smiling while we're doing it and smacking our beers together and say, let's go. And like we fake choke each other while we're laughing. And it's just a different atmosphere. You know, I'm sure guys want to kill each other too, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's a much,
you know what helps that?
It's just different. It's just a better thing.
A lot of college stadiums, no booze. That helps.
I think that's part of it. But I also think I was saying this to somebody. I said, you know what it might be too is that your football team is not your only team. If you're a Michigan fan, like basketball, I'm sure you follow maybe how the baseball team does. They have a hockey team, so like. You're not so reliant. If you're an Eagles fan, you're very reliant on the Eagles doing well. And if they suck, like you're screwed because you're not necessarily a Sixers and Phillies fan.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you may very well be a fan of something else. Like a guy I work with, he's a Dallas Cowboys fan. He's a Yankees fan. Like he's all over the place with the very different sports. But when you're a fan of a school, yes, you live and die with their losses, but you also know, like, hey, we'll get you in basketball this year, like, especially if you're in Michigan, right? Like, Ohio State just owns you guys in football for the most part for a while, but they can't even compete with you on a basketball court. And, you know, so I just think that has something to do with it, but the booze probably has a lot to do with it, too. My number 2 is, I think you have to look at, like, what kind of a wacko am I? That I put this ahead of the Super Bowl, but the NFL draft. The NFL draft for me has become
such a good one. I left that out.
It's as big an event and tradition as there is for me. And frankly, I know I joke and I say, you know, with the Jets, I start thinking about the draft in September, which is unfortunate because they suck so bad. But the reality is, as soon as that Super Bowl ends, or maybe as soon as I'll say as soon as college football season ends, we start putting guys into categories. We start trying to see like where do they fit and who needs this and who needs that. And it really becomes like a 4-month game that we play where we get to play amateur GM for multiple teams, especially for our team. And I just love it, man. I've always loved the draft. I really loved it when it was only a weekend thing because I had a landscaping business. I would cut lawns in the morning on draft day, and then I would have my papers. I used to say Mike Dean would know what I said. I got my papers. You know, top 100 players, top 20 in each position, like team needs, all this stuff. And you can do that when you have like 3 rounds in one day, but when it's just one round, it seems like a waste of time to have all this paperwork. But the draft is just awesome. It's so much fun.
Such a good one, and I'm mad at myself. I might not sleep tonight that I left that out. That's such a good one. My number 2 is something that you're gonna love, and one of our listeners, Kevin Ruth, the Army-Navy game.
Oh my God, how did I leave that out? That's embarrassing.
All right. So you've been obviously it's a bucket list.
I gotta amend my list. I've been twice.
I think this year, next year, they're at the Meadowlands and we're going. We're gonna hopefully bring like 10, 12 guys. Yeah. No airfare, no hotel. I don't care when I'm paying for tickets. It's
incredible.
6 miles, it's 8 miles from me. Let's go nuts. Like
it's the worst football it's the worst football you'll see all year, and it'll be your favorite game. It'll be your favorite game you've ever been to in your life.
Yep,
it's incredible.
Like details are self-explanatory. If you can't figure it out, then don't listen.
Oh my God, it's just incredible. There hasn't been an Army-Navy game that my eyes don't swell up. And let's be honest, I cry.
I
don't just swell
up.
Listen,
I'm at the TV here. Like I'm watching on the couch, and we're like, dude, it gets a little dusty here quick.
So
man,
I've been to West Point to watch a football game.
Yeah, same.
And when you walk in, like you walk past the cadets, and you see that they're kids.
I know.
They're kids, and then we send our kids off to fight wars for us. And if you follow government at all, oftentimes we send them off to war for bullshit. And we're like killing kids for bullshit, and it pisses me off. It gets me upset, but they're kids doing this kind of stuff, and you just get when you see them in person, you get a different kind of appreciation for who they are, what they do. So that's an awesome one. I don't know how the hell I don't have that on here. I'm bouncing the baseball all-star game, and I'm putting Army Navy on my list.
Yeah.
My number one, you've already said it, the Masters. I love the whole week. One of my favorite things is the par 3 little match,
Wednesday,
whatever they call that on Wednesday. Listen, if you can watch Arnold, Gary Player, used to be
Jack used to be
Jack,
Arnold.
used to be Arnold, Jack Nicklaus. If you could watch them tee off and not, feel a certain kind of way, then you probably shouldn't even be watching. The green jacket, the course looks fake as hell. I don't know how the hell they make it look like that. It's bananas. It's incredible. The green jacket, there's just something about it, man. It's just different. I know the players feel like this. What's funny about that is Jack Nicklaus won 6 of them. I think it was 5 or 6. And if you ask him, his favorite tournament that he won is the U.S. Open, because he said it's the tournament of my country. So it always it mattered to him more. But we look now, or like the Masters. It's the only one that's played on the same course. They have a special dinner only for previous winners. Last winner gets to choose what the meal is. Dude, it's I get chills every year. I cry every year when the winner puts in that last putt. It's beautiful stuff. It's just incredible stuff. I can never get enough of it.
Yeah, Jack's a Buckeye. Fuck him. It's the Masters is the best. My number one is a little bit off brand, and you're gonna be like, "What? Like really?" It's the hockey handshake line after a playoff series ends. To me, dude, it's such a contact sport, aggressive. You're drilling people, like I mentioned before. The goalie got drilled yesterday. When that series ends, that player will go right up to that goalie, hug him, and go, "Listen, man," and he'll go, "No, man, I got a game. You slipped. I get it, whatever." And then it's even better when it's like a legendary player's last game.
Yeah,
and it takes 20 minutes for them to do the line. They're all it's incredible to me. It's one of those things where like it's a really sportsmanship kind of thing.
Just to add to that, it's not even close. The Stanley Cup is the coolest trophy in all sports.
I agree.
I mean, it's not even close. Right. And then when you consider what they do with it, like each player gets it for, I don't know, I think 2 weeks or something like that. And who knows what the hell they're doing.
Oh, who knows?
Drinking out of it, shitting in it. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but it's bananas. It's funny you said that. I thought about that after I made the list. I'm like, there's just that Stanley Cup trophy is just so goddamn cool. And when you see those guys hoist it, it's the only trophy that's kind of held that way too. That's what makes it so unique. Also, the way they hold it by the cup and by the base.
Yeah, and then the skate.
It's always overhead.
Yeah, like the skate, and then they give it to another guy. Like they give it to a teammate that they want to give it to.
Same thing. They don't ever do this or like hug it. It's always over your head. It's very cool for a sport that doesn't get watched enough. Frankly,
they got some cool stuff. Yeah,
their playoffs, and then that Stanley Cup is cool as shit. It's cool as shit. Hey, episode number 21. We got to hustle with this one because
I know you got to get going.
They're dying for me here.
I have to answer Michael. No Yankee rant yet, but hold on a couple weeks.
Oh, I'm sure there's one coming next week. Hold your breath.
But yeah, for number 21, I'm going to dedicate this one. Obviously, hello Heisman, Desmond Howard for me. But yeah, Deion is your guy. I got it.
Deion Sanders. Yeah. How about Tim Duncan?
Paul O'Neill,
LaDainian Tomlinson,
Roberto Clemente.
I saw that one. Sammy Sosa, Micah Ruzioni,
Kevin Garnett.
Do you know who Micah Ruzioni is?
The U.S. captain for the Olympic team 1980.
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
Jesus Christ, just jammed it up my ass sideways. No lube. Paul O'Neill.
Yep.
All right, so who's this one for you?
Desmond Howard. Hello.
You going with Desmond?
I'm going with Desi.
I got to go with Prime.
Of course you did.
Prime time. Prime time.
I love it.
The only guy other than I can think of, like Lawrence Taylor, only defensive player who makes you turn the TV on. Like you turn on to watch him play. Very rare. Very, very.
I'm not here to tackle. I'm making a business decision.
Dude, and he's a Florida State guy. And when he was at Florida State, my God, what a pain in the balls. But he was so good. So good.
Love it.
Anyway, Coach has to go. Coach has to go. I will talk to you later. I'm Pete Colasano for Scott Bracey, and you've been listening to Bump and Run. We'll see you next week.
Later.